And good morning, everybody, and welcome to the TriggerCharts pre-market rundown for Friday, May 21st, 2021. I'm Andrew Horowitz, and hey, thanks for joining me. Thanks for coming aboard every week. We got some exciting things to talk about this week, as we do every week, because you know what? It's the markets, and the markets are exciting. They have all sorts of things that, can change from moment to moment, and that's the whole point of why we are, in fact, utilizing a system to make sure that we stay on the right side of the market. The whole point here is, if you really think about what's the benefit of utilizing something that you can rely on, it's to keep your emotions in check and to make sure that you are not making decisions that are based on, let's say, FOMO or fear of missing out, or maybe, just a hot tip that you get off of the TV, the radio from a friend on the golf course. You know what I'm talking about. So the thing is that what we want to do here is we want to have the opportunity to find those trades that we can have a relative level of high confidence in by using multiple indications and confirmation points in order to enter a trade either on the long or the short side, depending on what you're doing. Now, we talk about things like equities. We talk about now cryptos. We talk about futures. We talk about ETFs. All of those are fair game when it comes to trading. We know that. Now, we talked about in the past how many of you are actually working on the idea of, crypto. Do we do it directly, indirectly? Are we doing it direct with the actual coins, maybe on some platform, whether it's here on TradeStation or otherwise, whether we're doing it through ETFs, whether we're doing it through options or some other convoluted derivative that maybe is a company related like a Tesla or a MicroStrategy. So what are we doing? Well, we talked about that. Everybody's getting a little bit more comfortable with this, probably up until this week. Well, that was a lot of action this week, and we'll talk about that. Before we go any further, I want to mention that everything that we talk about on these discussions, of course, first of all, is recorded. You can find replays over on the YouTube channel for TriggerCharts, also on our website at TriggerCharts.com. And I'm going to mention this, before I forget to tell you this, because I'm going to put this in the chat. There are tons of tutorials and educational videos and how-tos and examples over on TriggerCharts. And right now, inside of the chat, I put the overview videos link. You can check that out later and see what's going on there. Each of our indicators has a complete overview. Plus, we have multiple other explanations and guides that help people along. But I do want to mention that everything we talk about today is for educational purposes only. It is not a recommendation to buy or sell any security. It's not an offer at all for anything. We are not taking responsibility for bad trading. We are educating you here. And the point of that, and I want to underscore this, is that, of course, investing involves extreme amounts of risk. Be smart, people, okay? Let's not do what some people are doing and saying, who cares about the money? Fact is, if I lose it all, I'll get more from the government. That's not us. We care about our money. We want to make money. It's not just throwing it into the wind and hoping for the best someday. Let's talk about what's going on. Let's start with this whole crypto crush. Wow, that was a rough week. To the right, we have Bitcoin was showing right here, but I want to kind of go and really show you the depth. You probably know this, but I'm going to show you the depth of what happened. We started off of this kind of level that was right here, right below the 50,000, probably about 47.5 on the chart that, we said, hey, that was an important support because we saw that there was multiple lines, when we look right or look left, any way you want to do it, that we could connect. We saw that there was a line in the sand. And if we had a problem closing above that, we could see other problems. Now, this is a daily chart as we're looking at here. Now, here's what's interesting. So we not only got that move down on one day, right? But then it started to accelerate for other reasons. Well, we had the potential for the Biden administration, the thought of maybe, or even the world for that matter, cracking down on cryptocurrencies as the colonial pipeline brought up some thoughts that if we didn't have cryptocurrency, would we have ransomware? If all these ransoms and lockdowns and hacks were being paid off in cryptocurrency, if we didn't have the cryptocurrency, would this go on? So there's some concept of, hey, maybe governments around the world, like we saw with China last week, which really started that drop down to exactly the 30,000 level. The low on that bar is 30,000. And that makes a little sense. You saw some other levels across that met, but yet at the same time, probably people just putting in some buy orders down so deep that they got hit, and that's when things turned around, because you wouldn't put it ever in an exact level like that. But there was some support that went on right at 30,000. So now here we are in these levels of concern about government. Yeah, Elon Musk and hackers and China, but all these regulations are starting to come out. And even yesterday, the Fed was starting to talk about doing their own currency. The Biden administration was talking about possibly changing some of the rules as well. So there's a lot going on here. And the Treasury came out yesterday with a rule about potentially trades or transactions of more than $10,000 that have to be reported, which kind of is what has to be reported right now with currency, right? You know, if you go to a bank, you take out $10,000, you have to, that gets reported. So with regard to that, we saw a 30 to 50% drop in the cryptos and an extraordinarily quick recovery, 35% recovery off of the bottom in pretty short order there once people were able to get back online. Now, one of the big problems that happened was a lot of people were not able to actually trade. What we saw was that the systems were down on Coinbase and other major cryptocurrency exchanges. And as such, because there was an inability, particularly for Coinbase, which is the biggest one out there, for people to trade, there was no biz, there was no offers, there was nothing going on. So what happened was that naturally just dropped your bids down. There was nothing out there. There was just nothing to be had. And then there was, of course, panic that, oh my God, I'm never going to get my money, cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin, ETH, it's going to go down to zero, and all the things that really came to mind there. So the other thing that's happening is we're starting to see this meme and gift-based investing. I mean, I got to tell you, if Bitcoin is really the end-all, be-all, why do we have to have accounts on Twitter every single day, all day, every day, just talking about it like you got to have a pizza company now that's called Bitcoin Pizza, which, by the way, doesn't take Bitcoin as payment, just as a clarification. I made the mistake saying, hey, I don't get it. Then the guy comes back and says, hey, we don't even take Bitcoin as payment. I'm like, oh, I guess it's Bitcoin Awareness Pizza Month or something, I guess. You know, you see things like the words diamond hands and, this is just a normal correction. You know, this whole idea of let's just get this straight, at least in my opinion. Don't shoot the messenger here, okay? Cryptocurrency is great. It has some great aspects to it, especially like Ethereum, which has a lot that can be built on top of it. There's good utility and application usage of it. And I'm not the expert on it. No, not at all. However, I will tell you this. I am pretty solidly knowledgeable about valuations and understanding of what a value proposition is. And Bitcoin and ETH and Doge and shitcoin and Shiba Inu and name the rest of them, okay, out there, Neo and Monero. These are trading vehicles, great trading vehicles, some thinner than others. The idea that, you buy this and never sell it in a 50% correction, I mean, look at this. Can you imagine? We'd have to have bailouts if this happened in markets. People would be panicking. People are panicking. A lot of people lost a lot of money buying up here, right? Buying at the 52,000, now trading where? 40,000. That's $12,000. That's a 35% haircut. So it is a trading vehicle, and I like it as a trading vehicle, by the way. So what else is going on? We got yields. Fed's starting to discuss taper in the last minutes. What does that mean? What does that mean? You hear this taper. What does he mean by taper? Well, what's happening is that the government, or the Fed, I should say the Fed, not the government. The Fed is starting to realize that what they've done by not only having interest rates at ZIRP, Z-I-R-P, zero interest rate program, zero bound, the 0 to 0.25%, is that they've gotten a good amount of inflation. They've gotten the economy moving in the right direction. And along with that, and the Fed stimulus and the fiscal stimulus, they're also doing quantitative, which they're buying $120 billion a month of bonds between a variety of different types of bonds. And they started to discuss very gently in their last minutes, which was from last month, and things have only gotten worse now, by the way. Inflation has picked up a lot more. They start talking about tapering, saying, hey, maybe we're not going to stay at $120 billion per month. Maybe we'll go the next month to $110 billion, then $100 billion. Still an enormous amount, by the way. $80 billion was the max during the financial crisis, by the way. Okay? Just to put that in proper perspective. Now you have an incredible amount of this quantitative easing. Some say debasing of currencies that is going on. Inflation generating. And we may start pulling back on that a bit. Well, that's concerning for the markets. And I would consider looking at TLT or TBT. Write that down, TLT, TBT, as trades. TLT would be a short, and TBT would be a long. It's an inverse. You wanted to short the TLT. It's something interesting to look at. It's come off a lot already. In fact, oops, let's go here. Let's take a look. You can see TLT's come off. If you look at this going back, I mean, it's come off from 170 at the height in July of 2020 when bond yields were, all the way down to 137. Now, the question is, when we look at this, let's go monthly. Let's try to take this off, look further. I mean, where can it go from here? I mean, get back to normality back in 2010 when rates were a bit higher. You still got another 50 points to go. However, the trade probably down to about the 119 area, another 20 points off of 137. So we're talking about 15, 16% potential. TBT is the other side of this. TBT, which is a whole different discussion because you do this for a trade, hold it for a little while, see what happens. Maybe I wouldn't hold it more than, let's say, a month unless it goes right in your direction. But we're starting to see a pickup, right, from 15 to 21. That's a pretty good move recently. So TBT is a leveraged ETF, which, of course, you have to have problems on that. You have problems on that because it doesn't exactly work like 2 times the TLT. It looks the same over the last couple of months right here. But, again, it has natural degrading properties of it. Market memory. What memory? There's no memory. Every day is a new day. No memory day to day. Seeing a regular sell, buy, sell pattern. Right now the market this week is going to be struggling to try its best to get a green mark for the week. It's one thing to have a green mark for the day. It's another thing to have a green mark for the week. Want to go out green because the last few weeks have been red. It's important because you start setting a trend that you have several weeks, then it gets into months of red markets in a downtrend. That starts to hit certain technical levels that are watched very closely by the institutions. And once you start getting past the 50-day moving average or, even towards the 200-day moving average, you start to see a pickup in the velocity, like we saw on the chart to the right here, which is showing that we did break down, and it wasn't just a snapback like we've seen. We held very nicely right in this zone back in February, March, and it held, and it took off, and it rocket shipped back up high again. In this circumstance, it didn't hold, and then there was a big hole. Look at this great hole. We talk about looking left all the time. And when we look at this hole that is right about there, look at that. Came right to that level again and started popping up. We're still in a very wide range that can go either way. Is it possible to get down to 35,000 again? I think very possible. Right now, we are in absolute and clear situation where the cryptos are kind of out of favor. In fact, there's a lot of talk right now that Bitcoin is like, passé. Then maybe Bitcoin had its day. When Elon Musk comes out and talks about the environmental concerns and the use of energy, and there's a lot of people saying that 70% of the energy used by the Bitcoin miners is done by renewable or sustainable. You got to wonder, did Elon not do his research, or is he doing something else? Is he just doing a pump and dump scheme on Dogecoin, or is there something bigger behind this? Maybe what he's doing is trying to build this up to a way that he figures out a way to sell solar and battery to, which is kind of ridiculous because it runs off electric already, but I'm just saying some other kind of renewable to the industry. So he started the process of getting this built, and so did Saylor over at MicroStrategy and several others, and just as much reason why it dropped. What else do we have here? Better economics, employment numbers this week right here. Much else is softening around. See that economics are kind of softening. I asked the question yesterday to an eco group that I was talking to, and I said, do economics even matter at this point? Is it really something that's a big concern? Do we care? Is there any correlation to markets, or is it just like, hey, I got so much excess money due to stimulus, due to things going well in my job, my career right now, or the hell with it, I don't care because I could have died during this whole thing and I'm just going to bust it out and hope for the best. Whatever the situation is, whatever the mindset, the psychology behind all this. Fact is that I questioned whether or not economics really were important. And they said, yeah, kind of, but it's more of the trend, which I get. Trend right now is still that we're in a recovery phase. No question about that. Next week, big week. We got new home sales and consumer confidence, GDP second revision, also durable goods. Now, I mentioned this, and I'll mention this again right here, the 4-hour coaching course. This is anybody who signs up, new people that are getting a subscription for the Commander series will get a free $199 value for an evergreen that we did some time ago, but it lasts forever. It's all the same rules that you want to use today. And if you are, in fact, a new subscriber, email us to support@TriggerCharts.com, and we will do our best to get you immediately set up with this self at home, online, at your particular pace. You can work on it there. Here's some of the symbols we're working on today. Also, give me some of your symbols. But you notice we're really focusing on the Bitcoins and Ether and Ethernet Classic and some of the ETFs. Kind of went across the board on this right here. All right, let's clear this up. Take a look at a couple things. Let's go here. There we go. Key reversal indicator. Where are we? We saw that we were getting pretty hot there for a while. Not really showing that much right now. We're at a +1, a little bit overbought or overheated in the market, but not terrible. Seeing this kind of pattern, this very choppy, chunky, nothing consolidation. You can just draw a couple of lines on here very easily and kind of just lay out without doing anything fancy where that consolidation is. So really looking to get above on the SPY. Currently trading at, where are we trading at? 416.79. You really need to break the 418 levels, 419 levels before you can say that consolidation is over. I'll leave that on the chart. So maybe look at that next week. What's going on in the movers and shakers? So this is something that I always pull up. There you go. Where you can see what is happening in the morning. This updates throughout the day. There's a couple of different ways to look at this. And of course, this is the movers that you can insert inside a TradeStation. All sorts of different possible things. The gainers, 5-day, losers, 5-day, gapping up, gapping down, runners. There's all sorts of things and algos they have they can use. Now, I just like to use the percent gainers and percent losers for the day. And what that does is give me a good handle on what's happening for the morning. So right now, Barbecue Holdings. I don't know who they are, but I love the name. Breaking out. Look at that. Breaking. Is that daily? Yeah, that's daily. Breaking out on the upside there. 40% up in the last 4 days. Like it. Smoking, so to speak. Dillard's up another 14% today. So you can see where I'm going with this. You can use this as a really good place to find those opportunities. Looks at the volume. 15 trades on 650 whole shares, which is on Dillard's. It's not something that I really would, bids at 126, ask at 13, last at 147. So that's not even a good trade. Pull that off. You got to look at those things. But you can look down these lists and find things that are moving. You got Viacom. This is their P shares that are not doing well this morning. Again, you look at that, very few shares traded. I like to look at the stuff that's really chunky, like whatever this is. Mary Holdings, up 16%, but it's got, 11 million shares traded today on 17,000 trades. And Juju here, that's new. It's brand new. Enovis, moving up 32%. You get the idea. All right, let's take a look at this. Let's go to I want to go through some of the core stuff right now. Gold has been in this monthly. Let's change that back to our daily. Again, you could use any particular level, but one of the things we talked about was that great basing that we saw and the turnaround on the aileron. This is my favorite setup. Listen, it's not that expensive. It really isn't. It's $149 plus another, I don't know, $20 for the aileron. $160 a month. That's less than one trade. That's less than the commission used to be on one trade back when I started. $160, $70 a month to get this kind of great trading opportunity. I'm just saying, I just don't even know why people wouldn't do something like this. You saw that the aileron turned positive right here, and we started to mark off this consolidation pattern some time ago. And if we broke above there, we got more consolidation, it looked the same, broke above. Look at this beautiful run from 157 to 175 over the last, 3 weeks? 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 weeks, let's say, right? April, 4 weeks. 4.5 weeks. Silver's looking pretty good too. That was something we talked about, and there was consolidation back here. We need to clear this area right now. Still having a problem getting through that level that we kind of boxed out, right? This giant consolidation. Well, we made it through that level over the last few weeks. Aileron looks beautiful right here. Question is, are we going to break? We still need to get about above that 20. I'll say, I want to go right at the top of this one. Just kind of like, right at the top of these two. 2650. Let's draw a line and keep that permanent. Right there. 2648. That's good enough. I like that. 2648. We get above that, we can see a scream on the upside. Right now at about $26 per share on silver. Now this is Bitcoin. This is one of the trading measures that you do. This is delayed on TradeStation, on my TradeStation for some reason. I have other areas that I could bring this in live. Right now trading up about 1.63% on the delay, that is. So just watch this. Also, it trades relatively thin. And remember something, it doesn't trade after 4 o'clock. Pre-market, it is trading, it's ticking. But a lot of times you can't find a tradable possibility. Same thing on this one. This is even worse. This is Ethereum, Grayscale Ethereum Classic. This is not Ethereum, it's the Ethereum Classic. But look at this move. I like to short this. I've shorted this like 10 times. Right now it's down a little bit. I like to see the pops on the upside and then short it. I was up here when I was shorting it last. Shorted yesterday, lost about $1 on it towards the end of the day. I said, you know what, I'm not holding this overnight. But you are seeing a nice little rollover of the aileron. This trades really thin, okay? But I do like it in general because I think it's such a piece of crap, and it's probably coming back down to $10. Here's Ethereum itself. Here's the Ethereum USD. This is how you track on TradeStation. You have BTC USD. You have ETH, which is Ethereum. You have LTC USD. Oh, I need to do LTC USD. It's Litecoin. I don't know if you have BCH USD. Do we have Bitcoin Cash? Yeah, I guess so. Bitcoin Cash. They all look the same right now. But let's go back to ET. Or, you know what, one of the things you can do is you push check this out. I'm going to teach you a little trick here. Watch carefully. I'm going to push the space bar, right? I'm inside this chart. Space bar. I'm going to do this, and I could drop down all the way past stuff that I've been looking at, or I could change very quickly any of the time frames. But I'm just going to drop down. I want to look at that Ethereum right there. The other thing you do, by the way, on this is a search. Say future, I don't know, I want to do, let's do Bitcoin. So here's all my Bitcoin futures, right? Macro Bitcoin futures right there. You can double click that, and there it is. Micro Bitcoin futures, June 2021. At what price? 41,150. Close. So anyway, ETH-USD is what we're looking at. Now I want to look at this because, did you know, were there any signals, were there any signs? I mean, we can go back and look at this on a weekly basis, and clearly, that blow off top, that kind of parabolic move to the upside was something that was really interesting. Okay, all right, fine. But you could have traded it pretty well, looked at it that way. Let's look at it monthly. Monthly was another ridiculous move up to the 4,400 level, but okay. I think the daily was the best setup here. Daily and actually shorter here, you would have seen a lot more. Basically, we saw that ramp and that long call right over about the 2,500 mark or so on that. So we got the yellow, which is an alert, and then we got green, which is a confirmation of that alert, moving all the way up, and then we start to see that consolidation. You got that signal right about here, like get out of this thing, and then it dropped considerably. Still short right now. I would say that personally, before waiting for this to come back or to go down. If we get back to about 25.34 and start moving below that, I would continue with my short position. If we got above the 29, like 3,000, I would close that short position that you probably got in at about 3,300 right there. Bitcoin, because they move quickly and it's over the weekend and a lot of stuff that, that goes on. Bitcoin looks even more nasty in terms of this consolidation. Very clear. We drew a line some time ago at 53,486. Drop below that. It was kind of no man's land. When you got below 46,000, that's where your drop really happened. There's nothing down to about right there, about 35,000. That's the line that I was talking about earlier. I'll draw it right in there. Not a great line, by the way. What I like really, I think down here, and I'm going to leave this on the chart, but we're going to change the color of this, and we're going to put this as red. So we know, and we're going to make it thicker. So we know, not that one, wait. So we know what we're talking about here. Now you can put a little text on there if you want, etc. But we know that that is kind of like the downside line, which is right in line with where the low was. Again, on this, you get above kind of 46. I would dump that short. Right now at 41,000, trading up about 2% overnight. A couple of the stocks that have been trading along with Bitcoin, really just a miserable circumstance. Got people in, got them all excited in February up to 1,300 on this stock, currently trading at 472. I traded this a few times, very frustrating, not really a thick trade, and it would have been good holding on. It was only the short side. Tesla also, as you know, impossible to short. Up about $8 at 595 today. 572 is that line that we talked about. Held pretty well on that bottom, but you see the aileron is really weak right now. Somebody asked me about iVol. Yeah, it's an interest rate product. Interesting, up a little bit, flat today, I should say. Consolidating, I don't know. I don't know what kind of volume it has. Riot, we'll talk about that again. Another blockchain / internet / a Bitcoin-ish, coinish company coming up a little bit here. Nice basing pattern there. I will tell you that. I don't know exactly what they do. It doesn't really matter. Coinbase, having a rough time of it. Got to 420. Everybody's all excited. Down to about 215 on the low. Currently trading about 236. Really you got to wait till this gets above 307, unfortunately, again, before you can even start saying, I want to really trade this. You want to take a long position because you think it's a long-term great idea. All right. You could do so at this point. Where's your stop? Clearly stop below this 200 line or 210. But again, if you're long-term holding, it's another story. I would add on, if you are entering in, add on above this 300 line. I think that would be the key levels really to pay attention to. Where are we right now in the morning? As I'm getting my voice back, but it's not perfect just yet. We got up 63 points, trying to make that a green week on the Qs. ES up 18, YM up 160. Do I have what I want to look for here? So SPY, 5 days, right now down 0.31, 0.8 on the DIA. Qs up for the week so far. And again, we're seeing that there's generally a back and forth overall when it comes to value and growth. Right now, value is lagging this week, down 1%, where the growth is up 0.64. However, you look a little bit further out, year-to-date basis, value is up 16%, where growth is up 4.94. Pretty interesting. Hey, listen, thanks for joining me. Thanks for being with us. Make sure to listen to the replay of this if you didn't get any of it. And hopefully by next week, the hot tea and honey is going to work its thing and my voice will be back. Until next week, thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you again then.